So Will just give up. He doesn't want to delay us. He'll just be on the next journey. He's already paid for it, so it's no big deal. Things happen. Will is someone, I'll just mention this, who went on a journey and had secondary implants gone, but he also got to look into the primary implant because he was ready. And he had to describe what was happening in it himself. I didn't feed it to him. And it wasn't pleasant or fun how he was killed or put on this earth. And it's just the beginning of looking into that. But now, at least a good part of it is conscious. And I think you went through that, Inez, didn't you? And Inez has been around with this work for years. Did you go through that, Inez? Didn't
Yes.
you? Yeah. Just knowing it helps you in life in general ways, because the very serious negative effect of the primary implant on people, how they were killed and put on this earth, becomes more of a conscious memory, and then they begin to have free will to choose whether they want to indulge in negative things or choose to use their ability to see, their imagination, in constructive, uplifting ways. We have much more ability and intelligence to do that after that. This is where mastery comes into it. This is how we earn our wings. This is how we developed back into mastery, which implies you all had it and lost it a long time ago. Everybody knows it.
Mm.
You're on Earth, after all. You're not on Nerexilum or Zeontrahnahmoos 1. We're here. So there is much to recover in the use of all those little teardrops in that bugger right there. Because what's in that is you knows how to get around the universe. It always has. If there's no negative nature in what you are in that. I mean, none. People are brainwashed all over Earth about how, guilt and sin and pray and be forgiven and all that. There's no negative nature in what they are as what they call soul at all. It's in the field of energy around that where the problem is. People see through that distortion around the outside of the atom and make decisions based on fear. Don't remember this or we'll kill you again. That's a big one. It isn't true they can't kill you again. They're not even in our solar system. It's one of the things this work brings to this world for the first time, and I don't see it being brought anywhere else on the planet. Reptilians and greys are gone, period. They're not in bases underground. I do not fear them. Let me turn off the sound. There we go. You guys can turn on your mics if you need to, but I'm turning off your sound now so that we get a better recording quality. There we go. When I guide you on these journeys, I go on the journeys too, you know. I'm not sitting here in a chair in Reading looking at a computer screen. Well, part of me is. But my body goes into the trance state we call sleep, just like yours. And then I've learned how to work with my vocal cords while it's asleep. And then we go out. The first thing we do when we're outside of Earth's negatively impacted atmosphere is meet with beings who do not have a subconscious mind like you do at all. They don't have anything in an electromagnetic field around the atma. They've never been implanted. They are not from Earth. They've never been born here. So I suppose beings like Shantiel and Tonaltiel and Dantium and Lamtium and many others, you would consider being in the presence of masterful energies if they met you, because it would be very uplifting. For them to walk off a spaceship and come out, you'd probably run in terror the other way if you still have a primary implant affecting you. Not that you'd want to, but your body would just turn and run. So it's not a benefit for people from other worlds who are endeavoring to keep Earth from not only being destroyed, but changing it. It takes a while. You okay there, Inez? You okay? Because we're on the journey now. Got to turn your mic on. Okay. There you go. You okay? I don't know what she's doing. I suppose people individually need to be a little bit more prepared for these journeys. So much distracts people in the simplest of ways, because confronting who and what they really are is not easy. Sometimes it's not comfortable. It's not going to threaten your life or anything like that. The hue flowing through you can't cause you harm. Fear can. It misdirects the hue. But fear can come through a person to misdirect the hue coming through you, which is meant to come through you for your benefit and the benefit of all life. Are you tired there, Inez? Or are you ready to go on the journey? Yes? You just look tired. A little sleepy? Just, yeah, put on your microphone, a little green.
It was a long day for me today, Mr. Lemriel.
Well, then, it's okay if you nod off. You're still going to be out of your body going on the damn journey anyway. Don't worry about it. If you fall out, don't feel guilty. Don't feel ashamed. Don't do any of those negative things. It's perfectly okay. If you can stay focused, it's better for you, but you're still going to be benefited from this journey. Make no mistake about that. And you probably had a lot to deal with on Earth today, I would guess. Okay. Don't worry about it. For now, put those concerns away on the side. Just imagine them going in a little bookshelf, little tape recordings of concerns, and then go on the journey, and you'll get the best benefit out of it. Okay. Thank you, Inez. These journeys are becoming deeper and wider. Some people have dropped away from them, others come into it. They get what they need for the time. The hue begins to work with them and continues to work with them even if they're not in contact with me. It only works one way these days. It doesn't forget. It doesn't betray. It doesn't suddenly disappear when you're not at your best, or when you're in fear thinking negative thoughts before you go to sleep or anything like that. It's still there, like a huge omnipresent master teacher, looking at you and seeing when you're ready to step forward, and deciding to have some master teacher or another lift you over a hurdle that you can't quite get over on your own. But only when they think that if they do it for you, not only will you awaken better, but it'll be permanent for you. And you won't lose it again. Because obviously we all lost it one way or another. So if I say to all of you, you were master teachers once long ago, what does that mean to each one of you? How does it sit with you when I say that? What's the first thing you imagine and think of and feel? First thing that comes up for most people is guilt or self-punishment, because they think they need to be punished to be saved for the bad that they've done. Right? Guilt is fear in another form. Doubt is fear in another form. They're just negative emotional states which are not part of our natural character as Atmas. The Atma itself, without any fear programming around it, has no negative nature and never has. None. So you can't really be forgiven by some savior or by some being and sit on your rear end and do nothing to gain personal direct experience and knowing, because faith and belief should lead to direct experience and knowing. That's what masterful teachers end up becoming, masterful teachers, by having experience, not just belief alone. That's good, but it needs to go further than that. The omnipresent hue expansion ray, as it is referred to in this work, call it Holy Spirit, Divine Spirit, whatever you want. It does not refer to itself that way, even though people on Earth are convinced it does, it doesn't. And the majority of that omnipresent living power is not on this planet. A little pinch of it flows through this atmosphere from the universe around us, enough to keep everything alive here. Even when the oceans are depleted of what they should be glowing, it still flows through the planet. There's nothing wrong with planet Earth. The 8 billion people on it? No, that's another matter, because their fears block recharging the oceans on this planet as they should be. So you see, when I mentioned something about 150 million people as boots on the ground that are somewhat awake, even on the edge of awareness of this work, they have courageously crossed paths with the first sound behind all creation, the first half of the word human. They've crossed paths with the hue. Because when you make that sound with your vocal cords and the lips, it only vibrates the head upward. It doesn't work with the lower chakras. It doesn't work with the power chakra like Om. That's mental plane. It only works with the pineal gland upward. Because it opens a door and connects us to Source. That's its only purpose. Now, it might be hard for you to understand that's what you're doing when you send out the hue. But that is what you're doing. All the other stuff, the fear, the present, future, those are just programs. And sooner or later, we all come to the point of dropping them like a lead brick. We do, because it's our nature as Atmos to recover all that we once had in the beginning before the lower worlds of time and space were even built. We were there. Inez was there. Susan, you were there. Lee was there. Margaret, you were there. Marshall, you were there. I was there. It's staggering because this represents about 200 billion years ago in terms of Earth. That's a long time if you think of it linearly, from past to present to future. That past and present and future thing only works in the lower heavens, the lower worlds below the void. The void is a very real place. Buddhists think it's the realm of the Supreme Being. So that's as far as they ever go. They don't know how to see any further, then you won't take them there until they're ready. In my work, I've guided 3 Buddhist monks beyond the void and up into the upper reality, all the way back to Source. One of them left being a Buddhist monk not because he doesn't respect it, but because he's moved beyond what it can show him. Himself, he did this. These are personal choices we have. This work that I'm sharing with you and what I'm telling you now is telepathic. This is part of the journey. It's not just about going out of the body and seeing stuff. It's about remembering and recovering your higher faculties of knowing this stuff for yourself. Because you're all capable of it. There's no question about the capability of it. But to be aware and awake that you have the capability is the difference between not knowing and knowing. Knowing something always leads to greater knowing, always. It can't go 2 ways. It can't go forward and backward. It's not positive and negative. It's not up and down. It's not sideways. It is an upward spiral. And it only moves one way. All the way down from Source through the physical universe and then back up through the axis of the galaxy, all galaxies, and back to Source. They are interdimensional portals or doorways between dimensions. What a galaxy really is. Plus, it's a nexus around which a gravitational field is set up so billions of stars and planets can circle around each other and circle around a doorway. That's really what galaxies are. It's concentric generators. They take a very powerful form of the hue, conscious living energy, and it comes down through that axis, which some people used to call a black hole, or it looks dark, or there's no light can get away from it. Well, no light as far as physical matter is concerned. But to the Atma, it's a brilliant white golden light moving up and down. And you can see online when you Google it what some people in science have shown is this brilliant shaft of white light moving up and down the center of an axis of a galaxy. The same kind of thing moves through the center of our spine, through the electromagnetic field that surrounds it. The same kind of thing moves through the center of the Atma, connecting to that white core in the center of our being. And it moves through us constantly. We are channels for this one direct source power. We're meant to be conscious, trustworthy custodians and caretakers of life on planets like Earth, parallel dimensions, galaxies, all kinds of things. But people on Earth are not custodians or caretakers of this planet at all. Most of them are completely the opposite direction. So it remains like it is. And this is because of fear, because people are afraid to change. Now, if they believe in something, a supreme being or a savior in any form, generally they will worship this or put it on a pedestal. It's natural. It's the way the world is set up. And when they do that, since they believe they're already saved, they do not do anything during their entire lifetime to change anything at all. Enlightenment cannot be given to people who are not willing to work to show some mastery if it's given to them, that they will be able to keep it and maintain it and be productive co-creator with Source itself. That's because we're meant to be conscious, trustworthy co-creators with the Source behind all life. So it really makes a difference if we go to that Source and come back, because it rubs off on us and we bring some of that back to this life on Earth that had none of this training growing up, as in zero. I know there's gurus on Earth that are teaching people about the lower dimensions of time and space and different sounds they make. But from what I've seen, they don't even know about the hue, which is one of 4 sounds the lips can make without moving the tongue. Because hue vibrates the pineal gland, opens a door. So when we shut our outer eyes, we're actually, without knowing it, most people, closing off the input from the negatively impacted atmosphere that contains all the things in it programmed there like a computer in water vapor and in the oceans that have ever been done by people, to animals, to plants, the sky, the environment. It's still there surrounding everybody on Earth. And then they have implants on top of that. It makes it quite difficult for them to decide to change. And often when they try to, they get slapped down by their peers, their fellow beings, their family members. And then they have to learn one of the higher faculties of the Atma. It's called right discrimination. It is the opposite of lust. Lust for money, for sex, for power, for greed, they're all the same thing. And as long as people are caught up in negative emotions like that, they cannot advance. And it can't be given to them on a golden platter with a magic wand either. They have to be part of the experience. That is how Source has worked it out, and we come from the Source, so we worked it out this way. Surprise, surprise. We are actually responsible for the condition of this planet, our little part of it. We're not guilty for the whole thing or anything like that. And we're not the power that can save it and turn it around as us few individuals. Not even 150 million people channeling the Hue expansion ray can do that by themselves. It's going to take 150 billion other beings from out among the stars working with that 150 million to pull that off. Fortunately, that's what we have underway now. And that is what this work represents, and that's why it's here for now. So close your eyes, enjoy, be at peace with yourself, give respect to yourself first, that you are an Atma, and you have the right to recover who you are. And you have the right to be free of fear of the present and future, because it is not a natural emotion anyway. It is not part of our natural being as an Atma. Any negative character, negative emotions, thoughts, or actions are only created in the lower worlds of time and space, where positive and negative streams appear to be opposed to each other. They really aren't. But to people on Earth, the way they're brought up here, they see fear of the present and future, love for their own family and offspring, grandkids and all that stuff. But the two are opposing forces, and they're putting energy into both separately. So they oppose each other. That's karma and reincarnation right there. Doesn't matter whether people believe in reincarnation or not. They think this is their only lifetime. Fact is, they're afraid to remember they've had billions of them and they're still here. That's a difficult thing to face, right? But we're capable of facing such things and stepping beyond them. So when you close your eyes, you're shutting off any negative input from the atmosphere of the Earth. You're opening a doorway through the pineal gland, the center of the brain, connects to the Atma you are, running that body, not the body. And that Atma from that white core sends a little energy through one of the teardrops there into the top of your head and runs the body like a battery, turns it on, and you move it around. Because bodies and brains do not have batteries built in. They do not run themselves. No more than a car does before you get in and turn the key. It sits there, it does nothing. It's basically dead until you turn it on. Your body goes to the trance state called sleep at night. Everybody puts it in there like masters. Unconsciously, unfortunately. So all that mastery of running a physical body is lost on them because they don't know how they're doing it anymore. It's just like breathing or eating. You put the body to sleep, you go to bed. Do you think that I hold any of you responsible in some way for not remembering everything you do when you're out of your body at night? Of course not. You were born on this planet. It's a tough one. What is the imagination when you close your eyes? What is it we're seeing when I describe places and locations and planets and dimensions? We're moving on the one omnipresent living power. Call it Holy Spirit, Divine Spirit, that's fine. But it doesn't call itself that. That's an earth thing within Earth's atmosphere amongst Earth people. It isn't the way it's referred to outside of this planet. And most of God, or the Supreme Being, whatever you want to call it, is not on this earth. It's out there. Amongst the stars and galaxies and all the different dimensions all the way back to Source itself. Now we come from that source, not from the Satnam plane, the Atma plane, the first plane above the void. We embarked into the lower worlds from and with association with Satnam, but we did not originate there. We originate from the source itself as individual beings. Very beautiful, spiritually shaped beings. That's what soul is. When we go into the hue, we begin to connect with source, that's fellow beings and master teachers that I work with and who work with me, make available to you so that you're connecting into a higher form of the hue without any negative nature around it. A higher form of the hue that's out in space, because that black area in space isn't black. It's not dark without light. It just looks that way to human eyes, because human eyes on Earth, two-stranded DNA, are not set to see much more than a very small band or frequency of light, mostly within the atmosphere. The Atma, what we are, sees into this light, hears into this light. It has two aspects that it manifests as an omnipresent living power. One, it's a living intelligence, but it's not an individual like us. And two, it manifests a sound that we can hear, a different tone for each of the different dimensions. Individual planets have a precise tone. That's how we get around the universe to find where we're going and get there. When we imagine, say, what something on a Nerexilum looks like on the surface of that planet, then the hue can, by its power, can take us there as an Atma, because we travel on the same energy we're made of. It makes sense. We see it as a form of visual light as an Atma to know where we're going. But it's actually the sound, the first sound behind creation that we travel on as the Atma. It is a power. It is telepathically and instantly connected to all Atmas in all places, on all planes, everywhere, from the bottom of the lowest world to the highest realm. Source or Prime Creator. I like calling this Source Prime Creator Source because it fits it better than Supreme Being. Supreme Being implies a tyrant God ruling over all of you like subjects that it whips around any damn way it pleases. This is not the way it actually works. Tyrants do that, but not the Source itself. So when we go there, we do not pray to it. We do not put it on a pedestal so far removed from us, it's always receding from us, and we can never reach it. If you put something on a pedestal, it's always receding away from you. You can never get there. So that kind of thing is not required. Source only requires that we remember who we are as an Atma, respect it, go there, respect all beings there, respect all life, and then respect all life in the grand multidimensional creation, because that's what we're capable of doing, and it's what we're meant to do. When we're conscious of this, we become co-creators with the source on all the levels through all the body forms we're running simultaneously. That is how we're meant to function. Now we have to recover that or get that back. The time you end up on Earth, you're so far down the scale of life, there is literally only one way left to go, and that's onward and upward. Can't go much further down than Earth. That's about as far down as it gets. And yet, the illumined consciousness, an awakened being, can awaken while it's running a body on Earth and pass that upward to the bodies that are supposed to be helping it that aren't, like your astral, causal, mental, and etheric bodies. We're going to come back down through, this time, if I forget, you guys remind me, but we're going to come back down through the etheric, mental, causal, astral plane to the physical. Inez, this might interest you. We're not going to stop there long, but you're each going to be able to see a form somewhere there that is you, you're running it. And all you got to do is give it a little kick in the britches. Satnam and Terrellian will be there to make sure, let's just say it's threatening enough in a good way to get them working with each other and not being so damn selfish and helping you down here like they should be. Part of our return journey does this for all of you. We'll make this one a little more conscious for now. It is not important or relevant to try to remove a primary implant that you have surrounding you, the physical body, or the Atma. What is important is that you begin to understand what is in it, because that's the only power it has over you. If it's subconscious, it's a near fear-based program. It can influence your decision-making on Earth, and thus you do not change. So when we look into it and make such things conscious, when you guys are ready, the problem is, for me personally, these things are very personal. I have to take people one-on-one on such journeys. It's their way they ended up here. And some people don't want that on the internet. And some people do. So when I do that kind of thing, it's good for you, but it doesn't help promote this work, sell books, or do anything else of that nature. I probably guided hundreds and hundreds of such journeys that never had any charge in finance and were never put on the internet. And that was years ago, and I stopped doing that because it was time to move on. When you imagine being near the ceiling, you're just daydreaming it. Everybody knows how to do that. You daydream going to the store and your body gets up and gets in the car and goes there. Just that simple. But people on Earth think that it's being made up in their human brain. That they could learn so much in one lifetime with educational institutions like that are available on Earth that teach you virtually nothing about life beyond Earth or the higher realities. And then they expect to grow up as an adult and be able to imagine writing Star Wars or imagine writing Dune or Avatar. They don't do this in their brain at all. They never learned it in school here. And they don't realize where it's coming from because it's unconscious. Some people, as a writer and author, you get into a kind of a trance state, like sleep. And you're so focused on the writing and seeing what you're writing about. I never stop to realize most people, they're actually having the experience they're writing about, whether it's down the past time track on another planet, in another galaxy, or a galaxy far, far away 5 million years ago. This is where this stuff comes from, but it comes from the Atma, not from the human body and brain at all. Now, if people on Earth knew this, they could go out and play without fear in the multidimensional creation, in the omnipresent you, and recall everything. There's nothing holding that back but fear in some form or another. So you're hovering near the ceiling. There's a man and a woman hovering beside you. Actually, they are Atmas. And Atmas have a gender not in the sense of sexual bodies, but male and female. By choice. by the beginning, how they set things up. And in front of them is a 36-year-old body, male and female, about 6 feet tall, maybe a little taller, not from Earth, human or humanoid, long hair to their shoulders, Galactic Alliance uniform on. Certainly master teachers compared to anybody on Earth, beyond them really. And yet what they do to them is normal. Such beings would be respected by people on their home planets, but they're never worshipped. They're respected as very advanced teachers. People on Earth would compulsively want to put them on a pedestal, whether they're from Venus or in a higher dimension there or anywhere else. That defeats the whole purpose of someone from another world helping you. Once you put them on a pedestal, they can't get through your noggin and teach you anything. There's all that adulation that goes on that gets in the way. The only thing that's required is respect. Respect is equal to divine love. With all the emotional stuff or any of the astral stuff or any of the physical stuff, it is respect for all life. In order for us to respect all life, we obviously have to wake up knowing it, or that we once did, or discover new life now along the way. That's how we earn our wings, in a sense. That's how we give back to ourselves the mastery we once had and lost. We do it by being a vehicle for this omnipresent living power that benefits all life along the way to our own recovery. That's what we're doing. It moves through us without hindrance. You're all in the trance state called sleep now, just like you put your body in every night when you put it to bed. But you're hearing my voice, so there is a way that this source energy can communicate to you. And in a sense, I'm really doing this telepathically. My vocal cords are being used for the recording, but that's not really how I'm talking to you, or you with me. Because up by the ceiling where you're hovering, you're projecting an exact, perfect female or male form, about 36, to these two people, these hosts. These beings that are keeping anything negative, any primary implant, any subconscious negativity turned off for now, so you can go on the journey and get the greatest benefit. And that's exactly why they're here. This is easy as pie, effortless for them. It is uplifting. Sometimes they break out giggling and laughing, helping you. They do not have this negative nature. They do understand that we do. They can't really understand the suffering we go through having such effects subconsciously on us in a lifetime on Earth. But they can remove them. They can help us see what's in them. Some of you have seen lifetimes you had certain aspects of them that were wondrous, thousands of years old, higher DNA body, human and human in other worlds, long before you ever found yourself on Earth with little or no memory intact. Because you've all had them. One of the unique natures of this work, and why it's on this planet at this time, is to help you remember things secondary implants obscure like this, that have no negative nature or war, that wake up a higher IQ and intelligence in you, that rubs off on you. You bring it back to Earth, and you begin to know things now and comprehend things you couldn't a year ago. Would have been impossible. So these things are based on direct experience. You're hovering near the ceiling. You're a spherical being. You look just like that picture, that original artwork created that's behind my head. It's got layers to it. It covers the whole spectrum of light. That's actually a spectrum of light as it's known from above the void, all the way down through the void, through the etheric, mental, causal, astral, and physical planes. So those correspond to the different dimensionalities of creation itself. And we have within us already the understanding of how to get around. Most people are terrified to get around outside of their body consciously at night. They fear it. like some demon will get them, or the devil or something. But the point is, what they don't realize, they've already been got. They're already caught. They're on Earth with no memory. So they really need to get outside of Earth, out in the greater God, and start to experience things again. And they have to trust themselves as Atmas and the omnipresent power to do that. Because it is a respecter of other beings. It's not biased or bigoted or prejudiced. It just supports all life. There is a new energy moving through it, which is called the Hue expansion ray. That's true. And it's only moving in one direction. But it does not force its will on people, at least not yet. Push comes to shove, it may sweep over this planet and change it, whether people agree with it or not. But at the minimum, we need 150 million people out of 8 billion to transform the world. It's a tiny percentage. We're not there yet. Disclosure, which began in the U.S. through the Pentagon, has begun. A little here, a little there, but at least they're doing it. At some point, it may be taken out of their hands and sweep over the world without their involvement. It would be very embarrassing for political leaders on Earth at the time, because the public would know what they've kept from them. So we don't want rioting the streets and death and people shooting people and hoarding toilet paper like they did with COVID. We want a peaceful transfer, an unexpected transformation. And it cannot come from the mass of people on this planet. They can't change things to save their own life if their lives depended on it right now. It's going to have to come from outside. From, you might say, the will of the greater God. From the will of beings who are far, far more advanced than we are. Running physical bodies, who know how to get out of them, who travel to their destination out of their bodies before their ship even catches up with them. Because this is the way it really works out there. People on Earth have no idea. This is what's taking place all around this planet Earth out in space. And it's been going on for billions of years. Earth is an enigma. It's way behind the times of other worlds, and it needs to play catch-up. When you look down on your body, you can see this huge electromagnetic field. It comes out the south pole or bottom of your spine. Sitting there, it goes in the top of your head. It's not close to the body like a few collars that most people call the aura. It's much bigger than that. And an identical one surrounds the Atma that's hovering above that body. An identical one surrounds the planet Earth outside of the atmosphere. Out the South Pole, into the North Pole. You can Google it online and see what a toroidal field looks like around the Earth. The same field surrounds an entire galaxy. And that is a form of the omnipresent living hue power itself. It allows a flow of energy in the hue to have a universe, or a planet, or a galaxy, or you, hover in this huge, vast field of the hue. That is not a planet, it's not a body. It isn't even an atma like we are. It's the energy we're made of as individuals from which we come. And it supports everything. The beings we call silent mentors are the mechanics of creation. Like it, don't believe it, I don't give a hoot. These are beings who run and keep in place planets turning on their axis, moons around planets, planets and moons around stars, galaxies turning on their axis, doorways between interdimensional doorways between parallel and higher dimensions, spaceships running on antigravitic fields, which is running on the energy of the universe itself. Something that is not nuclear or atomic and is not matter, not DNA, is how these more advanced craft get around. And people finally figure that one out, as they have in certain classified areas on Earth. They'll be able to advance much faster, but we're still going to need the direct involvement and teaching and example of these beings from the stars who know how to do this. We do not on this planet, remember. So they have to bring it here, don't they? People have to be ready to accept it. You want this world to change? Then we do our part to help that along. Our little part. What we're doing, and other beings out in space waiting for us, as happens now, not physical bodies, mind you, is opening doorways between dimensions, setting up corridors in the hue, which is our right. And then we can travel through those corridors and get faraway places without going through one step at a time through the astral, and the causal, and mental, and etheric. It would take forever. Too many wondrous sights and things to see along the way, and we'd accomplish nothing in the next 20 years of our lives doing things that way. And you go and visit your own bodies, you're running those planes and realize they're more unconscious than you are, but more advanced. That's quite a shocker. And that can set people back a bit. So we don't want to deal with that right now. We want to deal with waking up the Atma in the source itself and bringing it back here. And then it can take care of those other bodies all on its own. Oddly enough. So you're showing this man and woman what you've always been able to show others. A pure human-like form. It is not DNA, it is not nuclear, it's not atomic, it's not atoms. It is the hue. The first sound, the omnipresent power, the living force behind all creation, and we are comprised of exactly the same energy. Individualized, of course. When we return to the source and merge inside the center of the source, we do not lose our individuality as many people fear. Individual nature of beings is permanent. It cannot be destroyed because you can't destroy something that's not physical. It's not even emotional, it's not astral. You can't destroy it with astral weapons. You can't destroy it with etheric spaceships. It doesn't come from the lower worlds of time and space. We do not come from there. There is a white, golden, pastel light passing through the ceiling where you live, down through your body, out through that electromagnetic field. That whirling golden white light that continues to move out the bottom of the spine up through the top of the head. And it's doing the same around you, hovering near the ceiling. And then you find yourself in space, standing in a circle of beings around Ambassador Trillian. The sound here and what you see is not what you see in a Hubble Space Telescope image of space. It's a golden white light because to you it appears as it really is. You're looking into ultraviolet, infrared, X-rays, and that kind of thing. Human eyes cannot normally detect that. Now, a cat could see into ultraviolet, infrared, and a few things like that. And dogs, some dogs too. Some other animals can see it. So they see stuff floating around them you don't even see. And people notice that their animal's looking at something in the wall or growling at something or meowing at something that they don't see. That's because their aperture in their eyes can widen deeper and they can gather more light frequency than human eyes can. In space, you're showing everybody, me, you, and everyone else in a circle around Turellian, a human type form, about 36. If you're a male, it's handsome, flawless. If you're a woman, it's perfect, beautiful, female. The Atma you are, the spherical being, is hovering above it, just like it's hovering above Turellian. He always shows us an 18-foot tall body because that is the last form the Say race had over 1 billion years ago. He's showing you the type of body he would show you, like the one you're showing him. This was something we could do before we went into the lower worlds of time and space, from Zeontrahnahmoos' realm, through the void, down into the etheric plane, and so forth and so on. When you have fear turned off, as these Shantiel, Tonaltiel, Dantian, Lamtian, many other Galactic Alliance personnel, who are themselves masterful teachers, masterful technicians, masterful scientists, masterful spaceship pilots, they're all cross-trained, just like you all once were long ago, out among the stars, before this lifetime. None of it is new to you, but as it's waking up on Earth, when you didn't grow up knowing any of this, and were afraid to know it, you begin to realize you were out there long ago. Then you begin to ask the right questions, like, how did I end up on Earth with no memory? The reason I found out and got to do some mastery to get through that was because I asked the right questions, finally. And the Hue responded, one way or another. It hears. When we say the right things and ask the right questions of someone like Zeontrahnahmoos, they hear it. They don't have this time delay about things like we do on Earth. Out here, this white golden light is everywhere, around the Earth, the moon, the sun, the stars, the galaxies. And you can see all the billions of stars that make up the suns in our galaxy, sitting in this other energy that is subtle, under it, behind it, around it, and yet you can see everything clearly. There's a sound coming from the energy surrounding us that sounds like kind of a soft rumbling thunder, humming vibration sound. Like thunder, like the sound of the physical universe the Hue makes everywhere as it supports all that is. As we go up in the planes, the sound becomes of a higher nature. When we start playing around going across the void into the upper realities, it becomes like the thin high note of a flute. Very pure, very attractive. It draws us ever upward. And so, out here, we create a portal between space near Earth and the source itself. A doorway between all the planes, right through the middle of the void, into and through Zeontrahnahmoos' realm, and upward to the Hue Expansion Ray Academy, up to the 6th realm, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. Yeah, there's realms there. The ocean of sound and light, the source, prime creator. You have to go through Agam Purusha first to get there, or you don't get there. And then we can go even further. We can go into the realm of the silent mentors, or we can go further into the realm of the Hue Expansion Ray plane itself. The hues that were sent out earlier, with others, create this connective portal. It is a way of bypassing the lower worlds of time and space so we don't get sidetracked, and this is what Turellian does. Stands in the middle of a circle voluntarily with his thumbs up, with closed fists, with a brighter golden light around him. It forms an oval, transparent light around all of us, like the hull of a spaceship. It's the Hue, but it's a little bit brighter form of being brought into the physical universe through Zeontrahnahmoos, who's standing much further up in space, and has begun to go on these journeys with us to go back to his, in other words, he becomes a guide for us, back through the void to the other side. And without his permission, you don't get across the void anyway. That's why he's there. The void is a barrier of pure hue energy that has no negative nature. It is a conscious living force concentrated in what we call the void, but it is not an individual. And nothing of any negative nature can cross into that barrier from the top of the etheric plane. Nothing from the lower worlds of time and space can enter. Not body forms, not even etheric bodies. It's like you have to hang them on a hanger, put them in a closet, put them to sleep, and then go as the Atma, the pure form. We come from that source above the void. We might as well return to it while we're still running bodies. That is what enlightenment is, in fact. Here in space around Trillian, he's acting as a guide, a balance, someone who can keep us focused on the journey for benevolent, uplifting purposes experientially, and will not lead us astray into phenomena in the lower worlds. You're already lost in those worlds, running bodies who don't remember each other. So what's the point of that? Up above Trillian is this beautiful Atma, bright, hovering there. These guys, these Seres, mortalized their body 1 billion Earth years ago. They didn't evolve. They're human. 12-stranded DNA. Vastly more advanced in capability and characteristic than a human 2-stranded body on Earth. They just dematerialized their physical body at some point in mass and stored it in one of those teardrops in the Atma. So when he wants to show it to us, he just draws in the omnipresent power. He knows how to do this. Imagine it, see it. Fills this DNA pattern, and presto, he's standing there. But understand this, you're doing the same thing to him right now, showing him a perfect form. And that energy form is not 2 or 4 or 12-stranded. It's a projection from the white core of your being as an Atma. It is pure hue, so therefore it's flawless. This is the prototype human we used to play with incarnating and running bodies. Satnam shows us the original prototype. Standing up in space, high above Eta and Din, with their tails glowing, above Satnam, and Atmas above them, and above them Satnam. This big, bright, white, brighter light hovering above him, and a golden hourglass-shaped vortex leading upward, spinning clockwise, humming. There's a high note of a flute coming from it. There's a blue-green water-like light moving around the outside of it. This is made of elements of the lower planes, but it's constructed to be continuously up through those planes and connect into the bottom of the void. Shantiel and Tonaltiel and Dantiel and Lamtiel and many others who I don't have time to name here are working a couple with each one of you. They simply they're not interfering in your thoughts or invading your privacy or any of that. They're simply keeping subconscious negative things turned off for now, for the journey. So that when we come back, we're bringing back a higher IQ and higher intelligence, a higher ability to comprehend this stuff to the human body and brain that never learned any of it growing up on Earth. I mean, none of it. So it has to come into our awareness on Earth from somewhere else. Common sense. The ships they usually have hovering in a circle, usually 12, are not here. They're showing you, standing to each side of you, this man and woman, beside the body you're showing them. They have a body that looks just like the one you're showing you, same age, on a ship in the Emerald Star Cruiser, mile-long cylindrical ship, stationed permanently for now in our solar system, inside the ice rings that make up the rings that surround the gas giant planet Saturn in our solar system. Those rings are made of frozen ice. How the heck did frozen water get it to circle in rings around a gas giant? Now, isn't that interesting? Scientists on Earth know they're water. They haven't got a clue how they got there. They're only about 1.5 miles thick. And here's this ship from the Galactic Alliance, hovering there, invisible to detection equipment from Earth. Ships coming into the central section of the hull, 30 feet in diameter, pass right through the hull. They raise their molecular time rate and land in a hangar bay. There are no open launch bay doors in these craft. They have bodies sitting in a lounge looking out of a vertical convex pointing outward. Glass-like portal. You can see the moons of the planet Saturn, the ice rings around this ship. They're sitting around a blue glass top table. Several dozen of them in different tables around these white egg-shaped chairs with blue cushions and blue carpet that's glowing. And they're asleep. The atmos hovering above the body forms on the ship. So they are with us on the journey. They've come from near Saturn to be with us. They want to go above the void as much as you do. So they serve a function, a service. Keep all fear turned off, which is easy for them, for you. And then away we go. Now, we're back near Earth. And Turellian is pointing upward with one of his thumbs. And we're starting to move in this surrounding energy field, following Satnam. Etta and Din are ahead of them, of Turellian. And we're disappearing up in this opening vortex, quite large, as we approach it. The whole group of us, dozens of people surrounding Turellian, hovering above him to the side, are moving up into the opening of this vortex. We appear like the size of a dime to a dinner plate or a small coin. And then we're shot upward at tremendous speed. There's a white golden light pulling us upward. It's making a sound. It's bright golden white light, but it also has this sound of very, very faint humming like millions of bees. And you can hear little glass chimes being pinged, a high note of a flute as we're moved upward. When you look through the walls of this transparent whirling vortex around us, you can see levels, major heavens, astral plane, 144 parallel dimensions stacked on top of each other, causal and mental and etheric. And then we shoot up through the top of this opening and find ourselves hovering in this immense pale blue luminous light everywhere. The sound here is like millions of men and women's voices singing the hue all together at once. It's a whole round sound. It cannot be expressed in human terms. It makes you excited to find the source. We're moving upward continuously in the void itself. There's no white golden vortex light spinning around us at that point. We left the other side of that vortex. And now our guides, like Satnam and Turellian, myself and others, are moving us upward until we begin to see Satnam approach what looks like, in the distance, a white, bright light. And then it expands out as far as you can see as we approach it, curving inward, meaning it circles a huge floating landmass. And that sandy beach is like luminous, brilliant diamonds glowing a foot above the sand. And there's jungle trees surrounding the back of this beach, tall, majestic, transparent, glowing, energy moving up and down the trunks. It's visual here. These birds come out to greet us. Satnam rises above the trees. He's got a handful of these little diamond-shaped pebbles, And you can look down and focus on a hand, and you see a handful of these little round, perfectly polished, diamond-like crystals glowing. And he simply throws one up into the center of the white core of each of your beings, hovering above the sand. And then he moves over the top of the jungle trees and disappears in the distance. We follow. As we approach, you see a long diagonal snow-covered mountain range with blue stone under the snow. It's diagonal. from the lower right to the upper left. And then down below us is a clearing and a brown moss-covered path that winds like a snake up to this, looks like a palatial estate made of transparent crystalline materials. And it's glowing, because everything here glows. And you look down and you see a 100-foot in diameter white stone floor, and there's a fountain sitting there. Now, this is a device that happens to have a statue of a Satnam standing in the middle of this fountain. White scalloped stone edges. He's got 2 gold bracelets on his upper arms. He's got his hands, palms open, down at his side, to this side of his hips, a little further from them. He's got bronze skin, yellow, golden eyes, not yellow, bald head, about 36, bare-chested, ripped, muscular. Little white tunic dress from his waist down to his bare feet. And that Satnam, the actual being, with this Atma hovering above this physical form he's showing you, is standing beside this fountain pointing to it. It's pointing to it because it's a doorway. There's a white golden light brighter than what you're looking at is this cobalt blue light that surrounds this Satnam's realm. It's quite brilliant. And you can see out in the distance huge countrysides with different kinds of animals grazing and flying, and you can see oceans with different colors way out in the distance from here, and different types of sea life moving, floating above the waves, showing themselves to you. There's an Atma hovering above each one. Sometimes they're swapping a whale from a dolphin so they can get the experience of what it's like to be either. These are bodies that are made of pure energy. They're not physical matter bodies like those on Earth. But they are prototypes from which such bodies were created, if you catch my drift. In the distance, the center of this palatial estate, the base of this diagonal blue stone snow-capped mountain range, are these 2 big pillars like lapis lazuli, blue stone laced with gold, holding up a triangular opening. And in it is a blue stone transparent throne chair, up a series of foot-thick golden glowing steps, like Roman, but this is much more sophisticated. And in it is this chair with polished edges. There's no seat cushion. Everything's curved and rounded and polished. And it's glowing, has a shaft of white golden light coming down it. I've never seen Satnam sitting in it yet. Too busy to play the god you worship in the throne, but the throne chair is there. So we're moving around that throne chair, and we're going to another fountain through a triangular opening that's at the base of one of these big mountains, in a clearing surrounded by glowing tropical trees and these birds with long V-shaped tails, 2 sets of bird wings, about 1 foot long like a blue jay with big blue eyes hovering there, singing to us the hue from vocal cords that have perfect sounds like male and female. And then they disappear into the jungle. You heard them say to you telepathically, welcome to the doorway to the hue expansion ray plane. This is one of them. We can go through a number in Satnam's realm to get there. And there are a number on the Hue Expansion Ray Academy landmass, out of which we can come to not only go further up from there, but come back down to it. Everything in the universe, in the multiverse, is connected. Every Atma is connected. There's a pure omnipresent power connecting us all. That has never changed. Whether or not we're conscious of this fact or not is another matter. Understand that you once were very conscious of this fact, and for one reason or another lost it or forgot it or had it stolen from you, suppressed, or you became vulnerable and were caught and killed and put on earth, whatever. The real question you ask yourself in this high realm is, how was I vulnerable to be caught in the first place? This is asking the right question. People on earth almost never do this. And if they can't ask the right question or see the right visual representation of a place they wish to go to, the omnipresent power will not take them there, ever. So we first need to awaken our ability to see certain places and locations. That's what these journeys are for. The ability to do this on your own is there. Even I do not travel in the multiverse without masterful guides who co-create with me. It's way better to have them with you than to do things on your own. What happens to a spoiled kid that strikes out of their own in defiance of their parents? Don't they get in some kind of trouble? You see the point. People develop egos and vanity on earth because it's a defense to justify why they don't remember. That's all it is. Up here we have no ego. We can't take it with us. It's impossible. You can't take that through the void to Satnam's realm here. And we're going to move up in this fountain. It's bigger than the other one in the garden outside. And it's just a shaft of this blue, green, golden, white light flowing up and down it, filling it, dropping down the sides and right into the ground. It moves through this realm to help support it, but it continues through the bottom of Satnam's realm into the void to support it. This is one of many portals like this. The sound is just a very high melodic melody of a flute singing a hauntingly beautiful melody, and we're drawn upward as a group of beings around Terrellian. And Satnam is waving at us. He knows we're passing beyond his realm. And as you move up into this vortex, you can see out over the countryside of the Atma plain. There are mountains in every place, all over the place. Oceans all way out in the distance of different colors, luminous. Waterfalls like rainbows coming out of cavern openings in mountains. Lakes, all glowing. Everything here glows, including you. And we're seeing how people learn how to respect all life in this place where Satnam is. If you had a supreme being to worship, this would be the guy. But if you try to put him on a pedestal and worship him, he'll back away from you. That's for the lower planes to keep people stuck because they want a free ride, because they want it given to them without having to put in any effort at all. How childish is that? To think that someone's going to come and save them so they don't have to do anything. And they're going to get given all this when they go to heaven. It is not the way the higher realities work at all. We're meant to be trained, awakened, trustworthy co-creators with the source behind all life. That is our purpose for existing. So we're moving up into this energy field as a group of beings, like a golden white light in an oval pattern, around us like a spaceship. Keep us all together. Terrellian's at the center of it. There are other master teachers here besides him. And we're shot upward. And the next thing we know, we're coming out into an even more brilliant cobalt blue light. There's nothing here but this light, and off in the distance in the center is a circular floating landmass, just massive. It has an even more brilliant white diamond-like beach surrounding it, and there's a blue-green ocean wave constantly curling and crashing on that beach, and it continues to revolve around the outer circumference and never stops. It's a form of the hue in the atmosphere before in the cobalt blue color that supports and sustains and maintains this floating in this other hue energy. In the center of that landmass, way in the center of it, are 6 snow-covered mountain peaks, blue stone with snow crowns. And we're moving over the top of it, and the shore is way off in the distance in a circle. As we look down in between these mountain peaks, we can see a glowing, luminous blue-green lake surrounding a white island like stone. Yeah, maybe sandy, but I call it stone. There's a blue glass tower coming out of the edges of this circular white stone center. And it comes up very tall to a kind of a flattened oval administration area with another fountain in it, no statue of Satnam. It goes up into a minaret point, almost as tall as the mountains that surround it. In the base of it Inside the base of it, the center of this island, is a 4-foot high, rectangular, polished curved edges, blue lapis lazuli. It's like a blue stone with gold lace through it. And above it is hovering a 4-foot in diameter glass sphere with a blue, cobalt blue star radiating in the center of it. There is a shaft of white golden light coming down into this sphere and entering that star. And then it's shot downward. And it's sent into the hollowed out interior of the entire Hue Expansion Ray Academy. And we can go there. We've been there before. There are 12 white chairs in a circle facing the walls of this interior hollowed out thing. There's a white shaft of golden light coming down the center of it. There's 12 trees around it. They look like weeping willow trees with broad spoon-shaped leaves, and a being, male and female altering, standing above the tops of these trees. Long colored blue gown, long colored pastel green, blue, orange, purple, violet. Alternating male and female. Long hair to their shoulders. Then you see a face with no facial features. It's just luminous light. And an atma hovering above them 4 times wider than us. Twice as many layers of these faculties. These are silent mentors. This is how they instruct, by direct example. And we are hovering in a circle of beings between them, with this physical looking form that looks human, and the Atma you are hovering above it. Terrellian hovering in the beam, I'm right beside him. Ramu and Opelum and Et and Dit are hovering up in that beam. And Light C. There are a dozen other master teachers here who are going to depart and go teach in facilities in the Hue Expansion Ray Academy. This energy is moving down through this shaft of light, through us to the silent mentors, right into their face and up into the being, and vice versa. It's moving constantly. So it's passing through us. It's doing something. Something that has never been done before. Something that begins to create a third type of being, or a prototype. A bit of a blending of the unlimited freedom of a silent mentor and that of a master teacher who cares about helping individuals recover, remember who they are. Self-realization here is knowing what you are as a spherical Atma. God realization here is knowing you're a co-creative, trustworthy being with the source behind all life. You're inside the hollowed-out interior of the Hue Expansion Ray Academy. It's near the center under the mountains. There are other such places out in the countryside. And we're hovering way up above the Hue Expansion Ray Academy, outside of this now, in the cobalt blue atmosphere. No planets, no moons, no suns, no stars. Everything produces its own light here, including you. When you look down on the jungles and the forests and the trees and the lakes and all the way out to the ocean, everything glows. Out in the ocean, out in the cobalt blue light, are 12 dome-shaped, glass-like, transparent facilities on a single round white island. A few jungle trees around them for aesthetic appeal. And in them are pyramids with quartz caps, 3 of them, and a dome within a dome. And silent mentors standing above the dome. Each one has a male or a female, 12 of them around the entire Hue Expansion Ray Academy. These were brought there and put into place within the last year. So they're doing something. Here we can mix it up with such beings. On Earth, that is impossible. They do not make themselves known to people all the way down on Earth, on planet Earth. Their energy is too cosmic. It would fry your physical body to a puff of powder. So they disguise themselves in any form to carry out a mission. They could be a bottle cap on your table, a fly, and you wouldn't know it. They're not interested in you or your recovery, your enlightenment down there. They're interested in maintaining the structure, shape, design of the multidimensional creation. Keeping things floating on their axis, moving around suns, turning around energy axes, like the center of the galaxy, doorways between dimensions, that is their function. So we're in some pretty high company up here. The Hue Expansion Ray Academy allows us to intermingle with them in this way. What this will result in is nobody knows, except it will be good for creation for the first time, and something's being brought into creation in the lower worlds, into planet Earth, that never existed before. That's underway. It cannot be reversed. This is what we call the Hue Expansion Ray. Although it's an omnipresent field of energy that runs through positive and negative streams, often opposed in beings in the lower worlds, it only moves one way, through them. And as it passes through us, these concepts of opposing forces, good and bad, right and wrong, guilt and fear, love and ecstasy, and the loss of all of it. All of that stuff is supposed to be harmonized, like the yin and yang symbol. Teardrop surrounding another teardrop, black and white, positive and negative, and around it the hue, keeping them whole, manifesting what we imagine without creating opposites in space, time, and karma and reincarnation. So from here, we can be able to look down over the universe and begin to bring these things back together. Otherwise, we ring like a cracked bell. Energy comes through us, it's meant to be whole, splits into two particles opposed to each other, and grounds itself into the earth. Sad thing is, it doesn't even charge the oceans, it just grounds itself into the pole center of the earth. It's like recycling waste. So from up here, we don't do any of that. When we're up here in the Hue Expansion Ray Academy, these teachers that are around Terrellian disappear and go off in the distance. We're going to go to the western roadway. These 6 mountains have horseshoe-shaped tunnels, clear as crystal, glowing, coming to white roads as straight as an arrow that go in all directions around the base of these mountains, out to the coast, like the spokes of a bicycle tire. And the western roadway, the first turn to the right is a clearing. And in the clearing is this beautiful 4-foot-high flowering plants, a tropical paradise. And in the middle of it, sitting on this blue stone floor with little circular walkways leading up to a round glass-like blue door. In the side of one face of this 4-sided golden pyramid has a quartz crown. And as these doors open, this little Chinese master comes out with a little symbol hat and a little maroon-colored robe and little esoteric symbols. About 5'5". Beautiful atma hovering above him. And he greets us. This is Light C. He was the first to volunteer to work in this structure in the Hue Expansion Ray Academy. He resides normally in the etheric plane. He does not have bodies lower than that. He's known as the Faultless Guardian. Figure it out. So he's invited us inside, and as we enter this foot-thick, glowing golden quartz-like floor, in the middle of this massive pyramid is a huge silver fir tree. Huge, huge roots coming down into this quartz. The tree extends all the way up to the very point of the inside of this pyramid. The top third of it is quartz. Quartz-like, it's an energy channel. There's a shaft of white golden light coming down into this tree, right down its trunk and out the little silver-like needles. And we're moving as a group around Terrellian, right through the branches with Light C. And then we're entering the trunk of the tree. It's the tree of life. And we're shot upward in this golden white light. We hear this high humming sound, and boom, we're gone. The next thing you see is we're coming out of a radiant, fiery red, orange, blue, green energy just moving constantly everywhere, like gargoyles coming out of the ground and evaporating. And then there's this big, huge spherical being approaching us. This is Agam Purusha. This is many planes above the Hue Expansion Ray Academy. And this is someone you have to be greeting to be allowed to go into the source or prime creator itself, just above here. And so he's here to greet us. I've been friends with him ever since I first met him. I befriended this being. You can do the same if you wish. Pretty frightening guy because he runs and regulates the entire raw power of eternity from above here and generates it through his being, slows it down to support the planes below. Even the U Expansion Ray Academy and Satnam's realm and the void and all the planes down to Earth. In the distance, you see another tree, much more massive than the one we left in the pyramid with Light Sea. And the roots go down into this fire energy and disappear. At the top of the tree, you can't even see it. It goes up into the whirling energy all around us. And we're moving as a group of beings right into the trunk of that tree, and we're shot upward. When we come out the other end, you are now looking at something. The bright light of this cobalt blue atmosphere is so intense it makes your eyes squint, but you don't have eyes here. Just the spherical atma. It's like the white core of your being is squinting. The sound coming from the source of this place, floating in the middle of this cobalt blue light. It's like a golden silver galaxy. And the individual things you think are stars at first surrounding it in these spiral arms are individual beings, maintaining and surrounding a central white island in a void inside the exact center of this place. The music coming from here is the music of the spheres. It's far more beautiful than anything you can describe in human terms on Earth. And as we're moving through these individual stars, you realize their individual atmas quite brilliant. Plenty of space between us and our whole group passing between individual ones until we come out into this void and we're shot forward. In the center of this island, the middle of this void, is an atma. It looks like an atma, but it's massive. It has thousands of layers of teardrop lights, faculties. A golden white light around it. And as we move through the individual faculties of the teardrops, plenty of space for a whole group of us. And then we find ourselves hovering as individual white lights inside this other much larger central white light area. And you hear a voice like a male baritone with a female sounding voice blended in it. And it says to you, welcome home. It says you are expected. Something happens between it and each one of you. Something personal, uplifting, constructive. And then it sends us back because we cannot stay here long or your physical bodies on Earth would perish. So when you go on your own, take a master teacher with you you've been introduced to and go plug into it a little bit, learn some more, and then come back, say, to the U Expansion Ray Academy, many planes below here. And we find ourselves hovering above the 6 snow-covered mountain peaks in the U Expansion Ray Academy. And this time we're going down a shaft of light you can see coming down the top of that pyramid. We're moving right down into the top of it and entering the trunk of the white tree inside it, the silver tree. As we come out of it, this Light Sea Master is standing on the floor to greet us. He places his hand on his chest and nods and points out through the opening that leads out of this huge pyramid. We find ourselves standing, wiggling our toes in the white, luminous, sandy beach of the western roadway at the ocean. It's a cobalt blue ocean, looks like almost like water floating out there, but it's not water. Terrellian standing up to his knees just offshore, smiling. We're going to go to a left turn, the last clearing in the left turn off this roadway. And there are 3 structures there. One is a tall pyramid-shaped building, luminous blue and golden sides. One in the center, in a triangular formation, is a spherical building, 3 tripod legs, has a kind of a half-curved dome on top. And one to the right is a rectangular building and has convex, pointing outward, vertical oval windows down the side on each end and on top. And we're going to go into the spherical one, and there's a transparent curved dome on the top of this sphere. And you can see the planet we call Zeontrahnahmoos 1. This planet is shown inside this sphere. And it leads to a planet on the other side of the Milky Way Galaxy called Zeontrahnahmoos 1. It is 4 times bigger than Earth, and we find ourselves moving right through this transparent, like a lens, through this dome. And we're hovering above a planet all the way back down in the physical universe. The planet's 4 times bigger than Earth. It has 3 continents on it, 3 moons the size of Earth, no polar ice caps circling this planet at a distance. There are dome cities and life on all of them. In the distance you can see this planetary system circles or orbits what's called a trinary sun system in the physical universe. Has a big blue, white, hot giant sun, big yellow sun bigger than ours, another smaller one circling outside of that. So a big sun, a little bit smaller sun, then a smaller sun, sometimes a red giant, sometimes a red dwarf, sometimes a smaller yellow sun. Depending on which star system you're around in our Milky Way galaxy, and these planets are circling what's called a trinary sun system, thus no polar ice caps. And we find ourselves suddenly inside the Earth's atmosphere on this big planet, walking along a lavender, sandy, glowing footpath that winds like a snake beside a lavender flowing river. It's a luminous color, it's a mineral. In the distance, 2 plateaus and a dome covering a city. And we're walking up this path to greet this couple that are 10 feet tall. Longer necks, longer fingers, longer hands, longer toasters, longer feet, violet eyes, ivory-colored skin, and long hair, like silver hair to their shoulders. And as they're moving toward us, they walk with the elegance of a swan with its long neck. They move like a swan. This is the couple that actually, I don't want to say rules, but they actually, here it is, govern worlds that take up a little more than half the Milky Way galaxy. They're showing you bodies that exist, physical forms. This is the Zeontrahnahmoos race that are 3.5 million years old, unaged. They have masters of genetic science. They can live millions of years running one body. They're not trapped in them. You can see the Atma, beautiful, large, hovering above these forms, just like you are. They introduced themselves as Zeontrahnahmoos, the male, and Fresumuntis, the female. Almost sounds Egyptian. The other half of the galaxy is coordinated and run by the Galactic Alliance. These 2 groups work in perfect harmony together today, for the first time. So you could say the whole galaxy is run by benevolent beings with a few tyrants, policed and kept in place, and being transformed as we speak. People are afraid of what's out in space. There's no alien ships with giant cockroaches on it prepared to come and bomb cities on Earth. Never been any evidence anybody's retaliated when people on Earth have tried to shoot down ships from other worlds. Never been a retaliation. You'd think they get the message. Well, they're going to get it whether they like it or not at this point. That is what disclosure that began through the Pentagon of the United States is all about, eventually. And it's inevitable. What is underway now cannot be reversed because it's underway outside of Earth, flowing through our solar system, through this planet. They're speaking to you telepathically. They're telling you that some of you once had a lifetime amongst them. One of hundreds and hundreds of millions of world systems. long ago, in body forms that lived thousands of years, if not more, that you lost or gave up at one point or another and ended up on Earth. So these are not so alien to you as you might have first thought. They're simply sharing with you some truths that you will be guided to explore for yourselves. Then you find yourself above Earth, outside of Earth, in the atmosphere around Turelian where we started. The Earth has its polar ice caps, its oceans, its landmass, its barren moon, pockmarked with meteor craters. It orbits the Earth but does not turn at all on its axis. It's broken. It is not functioning properly as it should. That is one of the things that has to be fixed. It can't be done by scientists on Earth. Galactic Alliance people will have a hand in it, but it's going to be done by the silent mentors themselves. Remember, they run the mechanics of creation. If anything's going to change that way, they have to be involved. Then you look at the Earth and it changes. It just vibrates, and then you see a different Earth in the same place. And a different moon with an atmosphere around it. No polar ice caps. Little oceans and rivers and dome cities and pyramids orbiting the planet, turning on its axis like it should. Sun in the distance, the billions of stars in the galaxy. And we're looking at a huge continent centered over the equator from the left to the right hemisphere. There's a Himalayan mountain range in the center. There's a city there called Agam Purusha, where Master Ramu comes from. And he descends down into the parallel dimension of the Earth you're familiar with, does what he does, and goes back. He doesn't live full time in the negative atmosphere of the Earth we're familiar with. But he's stationed on Earth. And then you see this upward curving, half-moon base-shaped, emerald green glowing beach. This continent, it curves down towards the South Pole, about a third of the way above it, and it curves to the right. And it curves that same way up near the North Pole. Down on the bottom is this curved emerald glowing beach, and it's drawing us to it. The next thing you know, you're looking down, wiggling your toes in emerald green glowing sand. Big curved beach. Jungle trees behind it. Turelian standing in this calm, blue-green, luminous ocean, looking at you with his thumbs still up. Atma hovering above him. You're hovering above this perfect physical form. You're wiggling your toes in this green glowing sand. It feels cool and warm. It comes up your legs. It goes right up through the top of your smiling face and into the core of your being. And it turns on certain teardrops in each of the layers, particularly the green one, as it moves through you, onward for your benefit and onward for the benefit of others. So you're being given a gift. This is from the Zeontrahnahmoos. You see them standing right on the beach with us. There's a statue in land of a woman in a quartz crystal form, carved in her likeness. Before you get up to the single snow-capped mountain range, and to the left, on the lower plateau, a dome covering a city. There's a waterfall coming out of the mountain, 2/3 the way towards the summit, pours out a cavern, drops with a blue-green glowing light down this sheer cliff face and disappears in the blue-green forest that surrounds the back of this dome. It ends up in that ocean, that blue-green glowing calm ocean, where Turelian's standing. So this statue of a woman is Fresun Muntus inside this green light. She has a gold band, a kind of a quartz crystal band around her forehead, a downward pointing teardrop-shaped emerald faceted stone. And her hands are up with her palms open. There's a glowing golden light around it, or green light. You realize she's charging the beach. This comes as a gift because this green sand helps you recover those lifetimes you lived out in the universe, out in the multiverse, that were far grander and greater with no war, no negative nature, that you lived in your ancient past. We're going to take this back with us. The sandy energy from the Hue Expansion Ray Academy, the experience of being in the source itself, being in the tree of life with Light Sea, with Agam Purusha. And then you find yourself hovering near the ceiling with two beings beside you, looking down on your sleeping body. The energy moves through the ceiling through you as it always has. It passes through this huge field of energy that surrounds the outside of the Atma, goes down and passes through the field like it that surrounds the physical body, and then it goes through it, and it goes through you for your benefit and on its way to benefit all life. And then it passes through 3 pyramids that are stationed on Earth now. 2 at the bottom of Earth's deepest oceans, massive golden-sided quartz-capped pyramids. They have a fountain of Satnam in them. There's one in a hollowed-out interior in the Himalayan mountains. And then it moves to a bigger pyramid stationed between 2 stable asteroids in the asteroid field that circles in the orbit of a planet between Mars and Jupiter that once was a planet in solar system ancient history. And then it connects all the way through other pyramids, and it ends up going right up the shaft of white golden light in the center of the Milky Way Galaxy. It's not a black hole. People's eyes on Earth just can't see it, so it appears black. And then it goes all the way back to source. Like the sign of infinity, it never stops moving. The more conscious we are, the more of it can pass through us. The more we co-create ways of helping transform things, instead of waiting for someone else to do it for us. So this is the consciousness you're bringing back. You suddenly see yourself in the etheric plane just below the void. You have a transparent body, almost like quartz, but it's fluid, it's moving. Energy centers you call chakras are visible in this body. You're standing, each one of you, on the front of a palatial estate on one of 80,000 continents on this huge world. Everything's luminous. And you're getting up from sitting down with your eyes closed on the steps leading into your home. Above you is the Atma, yourself, looking down on this form, waking it up. And you move down through this form to the mental plane. Here you're scientists or doctors. This is where thought moves all matter around. You have in some cases, myself, I have a Zeontrahnahmoos type body here. You know, with the silver hair, the violet eyes, and taller. But I show people a bald man, about 65 here. That's not really who I am. So you're standing in kind of a metropolis, but made of much higher molecular energy. And you're getting up from sitting by the steps of a home, located all over several worlds. And it's looking up and seeing the etheric body. The etheric body's looking down and seeing it. Terrellian and Satnam are standing beside these forms to kick their butt a little bit and get them waking up. The energy's moving through the mental body, goes into the causal body. You're on one of many thousands of islands near a dome structure, your home, getting up on a deck. And you're looking up, and this energy's moving through you. And there's Terrellian and Satnam. And it's paying attention to the mental body, and it's paying attention down below. And you're down in the astral world on thousands of tropical islands. Not on worlds like Earth. This is much bigger. And you're in a palatial estate with a huge tropical garden, a whole botanical paradise. And there's a fountain. And there's a white golden light coming into this fountain because it was put there. And you have a beautiful form. You could be 1,000 years old here and still look to be about 36. And you're getting up. Some of you have mates beside you. Some have offspring or children. And they're getting up and looking up and seeing this higher causal body and looking down, and they're seeing you sitting in that chair. The Atma hovering near the ceiling with a Galactic Alliance personnel beside you. And it's moving down through that form you have on Earth. They're paying attention to you. And then it goes out into space, up the galactic core, and back to source. When you're ready, open your eyes. I did not forget to take you on a quick visit to the etheric, mental, causal, and astral planes where you're running bodies right now. Because if I don't, there's probably no other way you're going to remember this stuff Well, unless you get lucky and work with some master teacher you've been introduced to. So you can turn on your mics if you wish and chat away and ask questions, do whatever you want. I think I'll stop this recording though first because we won't get too long. It's pretty long.